Okay, so at a high level overview in here, so the 3 screens, so you know everything just stays on all the time in here. No need to turn anything off. There's not even a power button on the video switcher. All you can do is pull the IEC power lead out. So just leave it on all the time. The only power button in here is over here. There's an on-off switch for the 3 displays, but there's also a motion sensor in here. And once it waits 10 seconds or something like that, it should detect that there's motion in here and just turn them on automatically. So they should automatically just time out after, 20 minutes or half an hour of inactivity. And you can see that's turned on because it's detected motion in here. So they should just automatically turn on when you walk in. No need to turn anything on.
You need to have those dot things.
The only thing, I think you had that remote here somewhere. I went and turned on that stage display today. There's a button on the back of it. You can just push the power switch on the back. You don't need to have the remote. So the monitors, multi-view, hyperdeck, which is the record output, and program. So program is the live output, the main output of like whether you're streaming, whether you're just recording a live record, whatever it is you're doing, that's the main output. The reason that this one is separate is because that's the hyperdeck, which is this device here, which is a recorder. There's a separate recording device. So what we did with it when we were here last time, for example, is we recorded a single camera. Mitch, one of my trainees, who forgot to do his hair that morning, we recorded a single camera of him, doing something, and you can basically play that back like another virtual camera. So like, for example, you could record if you had 2 people that were doing a part with each other, but they were available on different days, you could record one person and, like back to you in the studio sort of thing, or, all that sort of faking live crosses and stuff like that. You could do that by recording it onto here and actually playing it back into the system as a camera. So it'd be like you had that person in another studio or here with them. So that's the reason for that. It's a separate output. Over here, the multi-view. So this is the high-level overview of all of your sources and all your outputs. So on the left-hand side is all of the inputs. So camera 1, camera 2 are the main cameras out there. I'll just zoom out. You can see that's camera 1 zoomed all the way out. Camera 2 is that side shot zoomed all the way out. Camera 3 and camera 4 are just placeholders, so they're just the spare connections out there that you could connect extra cameras into. Input number 5 is the hyperdeck, which is this over here, which is the playback device. And input number 6 is the PTZ camera, which is this guy over here. So you've got the PTZ camera on the back wall there. You can do whatever you like with it. I think the only really useful thing for it would be like that sort of shot, which is, like if you see the news, sometimes they cross to a wide angle shot, which is, live at the studio. So you can see that there's actually stuff happening. It's a real, live thing, but you can set up whatever presets you want on there.
That's really cool.
And just use that as another camera.
I didn't know there was a camera there.
Yeah.
Could you repeat how to switch between these cameras again on this control panel?
What was that, sorry?
Yeah, you're switching the control.
I'm not doing any switching at the moment, so okay.
But when you control the camera.
Sure. So over here, so this is a remote control for the 2 main cameras.
Okay.
So camera 1 and camera 2, they have cables that go to them do. So this is called CCU, so camera control unit. So this is so that someone in here, for like the main purpose for it would be if you wanted to slightly adjust the zoom of that camera, like make it a tighter shot, or if you wanted to slightly adjust the focus of that camera because the camera operator had missed the focus just slightly. So it's really just the camera operator should be able to do, like you should have a camera operator, but if you didn't have a camera operator, then you could do zoom and focus from in here.
Is that real zoom?
Yeah, that's real zoom. Yeah.
The camera,
Correct.
so fake zoom?
That's right. So that's physically changing the motor zoom on the lens of the camera out there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That'll be really handy for you, Stella.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, just need to hit select on the camera.
Yeah.
You can do 2 cameras at once. I'd probably recommend just doing 1 camera at a time.
How about the PTZ camera?
Sure, so this is the control for the PTZ. It's a Panasonic camera.
Yeah.
So the joystick does your pan tilt.
Yeah.
Over here
Yeah.
does your zoom.
Yeah.
You've got speed.
Yeah.
So pan, tilt and zoom is all under the same speed.
Yeah.
I'd probably set it to, kind of there-ish so it's usable.
Yeah.
But what you're able to do, these are preset buttons here.
Yeah.
So we can, by default, we can recall presets.
Yeah. All right.
But we can also save presets. If we want to adjust that preset, we just want to go out a little bit.
Yeah.
And readjust it to there. We can click on store,
Yeah.
number 9, and now that updates that preset.
All right.
Sorry.
And then how do you record off? Like, how do you?
There you go. That's updated that preset. So you select store mode in order to save presets.
Okay.
And when store is deselected, then you can just press the buttons and that recalls the presets.
All right. That's good.
Which was on the TriCaster, but we didn't use it that much.
We don't use that camera much.
We did once, remember? We used it to do your live broadcast when we first learnt the TriCaster.
Is there like a record start button on that? Or is
No,
that
No.
it's different.
So that's just remote control of the camera.
okay.
There is, so you can, the 2 Sony cameras out there, you can put SD cards like in the back of the cameras and record straight onto that. That's really just you can do that if you like, that's kind of just a backup. You should be able to do all of the recording from in here. But you could, as you see, remotely start the recording from in here on those cameras. So that's the sources, that's where it all comes in over there. Where do we get up to? PTZ camera. The next one's HDMI input. So there's obviously a HDMI connection on the wall over there. I've got my laptop, doing a nice little fireplace at the moment. Connected into that. You can plug whatever you want, Pro Presenter, virtual backgrounds, YouTube videos.
So that's that one there
Yes,
into here.
correct.
That isn't that laptop there separate.
Correct, this laptop's just for control. You could plug that laptop into HDMI if you wanted, but yeah, it's got one. So the reason for this laptop, we log into it here, it's got the username and password on here. This laptop runs the control software for the video switcher. Now you don't need the control software to operate the video switcher. So the reason for the control software is for sort of 2 or 3 functions mainly. So there's some settings here that I've gone through and set it up to how we need it. The main thing that you're going to use it for is uploading media. So I just got some, the first CQU images I found on the internet and uploaded them onto here. You guys can probably find some better logos, I'm guessing. But you can just plug a thumb drive in, click on there, grab some media, and go and put it into your media library here. So these are the 20 slots that are available for your media library. So you can have holding slides, logos, all of that sort of stuff in there, available to overlay over the top, either to do a background, like a virtual background, or to overlay over the top as a logo, which is what we'll do shortly. So yeah, that's just the media manager. So that's why that PC is there. So you can click on media down here. So default screen is switcher. You can click on media, drag things in over here. Once they're in, you can use them. You can delete them from there. And you can use them to put on overlay on the screen, basically. The other thing that this software is useful for is, where's it gone? Record setup, we're just going to leave it as it is, but you can do live streaming from this as well. So if you were going to do a YouTube live stream or a Twitch live stream or something like that, you can just paste the stream key and passphrase into here, and literally just click the big on air button on your desktop here, and you can start streaming straight from there. You don't need any other hardware. This is connected to the network, so it goes straight out on whatever service that is. But yeah, you need the software obviously to be able to copy and paste the text into there. the other thing that the video switcher does is it doesn't only record just the main bus, like the program bus. It can do what's called ISO recording. So ISO recording is when you record every input individually on its own like track, basically, so that it can be manipulated in your video editing software later on. The really cool thing that this does is that if you used Blackmagic's DaVinci Resolve, if you do an ISO record from this and then plug that into your laptop and import it into a DaVinci Resolve project, if you've done switches between cameras during the event, it will actually, like while you've recorded it, it will put bookmarks in where all those switching events were, and it'll actually arrange all of the cameras on your timeline already how you did it in the live, and then you can just go down there and just tidy up your transitions and make different fade times, or let's say you missed a cue by half a second and someone started talking but you didn't have them live, you can go and adjust that in DaVinci Resolve, and it kind of cuts down your workload because you've already done like a live switch, but then you can actually go and fully manipulate all of it afterwards.
Where are the recordings stored? Are they on the network?
No, so because of the high bandwidth video, it has to be a USB, like a high-speed USB hard drive in here. So there's 2 USB-C ports on the back, so you just need to bring your own hard drive for that.
Yep.
So just a high-speed USB SSD, 2 terabyte or 1 terabyte USB external hard drive. Yeah. And you'll need to go in here. So actually that's what you will need this for. So currently you'll need to select where it records to. It should, when you plug in a hard drive, it should automatically detect, oh, you've plugged in a hard drive, I'm going to record to there. But it does have an internal recorder as well. As you can see, there's only 11 minutes of capacity on the internal recorder. So it's only meant to, the internal hard drive's only really meant to store like this media here, not meant to store long recordings. Cool.
So what was the type of hard drive we need?
SSD, solid state drive.
With a
USB-C. USB-C powered SSD.
and where do you plug it in?
Just around the back, so just above the network port, around the back, there's 2 USB-C connections, just over here.
Oh, yeah.
So just down there, there's 2 USB-C connections. So you can actually even plug 2 hard drives in, and you can set up, drive 1 and drive 2 to, if you had a really long recording, it would just go from one onto the next. Or I think you can, I'm not sure if you can record onto it as redundant or not.
What's this thing called?
This is the video switcher. So this is the Blackmagic video switcher. And to start your recording, big button on the surface, record. So that starts the ISO recording that's built in here. So that'll always be the 8-track recorder.
So it knows that once you plug in something into the USB at the back?
It should. I haven't tested that. It should know that you've plugged in an external hard drive and you want to record to that, but you'll have to double check.
Is that what you're saying? Just check.
Just check in there. So in this device 1, so at the moment there's only the internal hard drive. It should appear in that drop-down list. Yeah. And you can title it whatever you want there.
The previous system can directly record it to the hard drives over there in the editing room.
Yeah, but
No,
that's how they had it set up at first. It caused a lot of trouble.
Never really worked. It's network attached storage like that isn't fast enough to live record to. So it's not reliable.
It's not plugged in anymore.
Okay.
Would we be able to do like a sample, like say we were setting up someone to speak up there and drop in an overlay, and how we might record that?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how do we record? Like, how do we decide what gets recorded to the hyperdeck?
Yeah.
Okay, so the hyperdeck is always the program output.
Yep.
So hyperdeck is just SD cards. So you can just grab an SD card and put it in there to record on. So we provided these 2 as part of the job. And you can see when we were here the other day, we recorded just some test stuff.
Hang on.
So the hyperdeck is 2 functions. So it can record. So you can see this is switched now to actually what it's recording, which is that. And I'll go over here and just like switch cameras, and you can see that, you know, that's the program, but that's what the hyperdeck's recording. So you can see it's changing.
So do you mean we would need a hard drive and the SD card?
You don't necessarily need both. So the SD card will only record just the one channel of video. So just the program feed, like the live, like on air feed. So that may be all you need. If you're just doing one camera, that's all you need. You can just use the SSD card. The only reason for an SSD is so that you can record all the cameras at once and have them all independent, and then you can manipulate them afterwards. So with the hyperdeck, as you can see over there, it comes back into the video switcher as another source. So I'll just switch to it over here. Where we got hyperdeck. And we can actually control it from here as well. So if we go media players, hyperdecks, we can actually play the footage and pause it. I think there's only one clip on that SD card. Let's try the other one. There we go.
Winds that are delaying flights by 6 hours. Anyways, down here in Brisbane, we've got tops of 26, and here in a made-up place, top of 31. No idea why. Out in Toowoomba, I'm sure something's happening over there. Couldn't tell you.
We did have a weather map up at
Here's
the
the
time when we
video
recorded this.
Yeah.
Headquarters place, head office, that's the one.
So what was these that you were pressing?
It's doing something, probably. Actually, no. What's time? 5:40. Probably not.
I just enabled the audio on that because it was muted. I'd muted the audio earlier. But yeah, you can see that you can preview. So yeah, technically you could preview over here and you can jog. Well, let's say something else was live. You could queue up a video clip to a particular point. Here we go. Let's say I want to start from that point, which is where I switch to our logo, and then play that. It's pretty boring. What else happens in this video? Nothing. Well, that was just a recording of that. Cool. But yeah, you can control, so the recordings on that SD card on the hyperdeck, you can control from here.
So can you do an overview of what the hyperdeck is, what the switcher is?
Yes.
Please?
So the video switcher is the main video switching control. So the way that a video switcher works, let's just go through the basic function over here. So this section over here is your sources. We've got two rows of buttons. And you've got names here of what the sources are. So those names obviously are the names that you see up there. Camera 1, Camera 2, Camera 3, Camera 4, Hyperdeck, PTZ camera, HDMI in, Camera 8, which is not used, Media Player 1 and Media Player 2. So you can see a preview of all those things up there. The way that the video switcher works is you have program and preview. So program or live is always red. So anything that's red is something that's live on screen right now. So this is our program screen. You can see that whatever I select in red here will go live on the screen. The green button down here is the preview. So you can have on your preview monitor up there, so that quadrant up there is the preview monitor. You can preview a camera, or you can preview a media player, or whatever the case may be. let's say for example, I wanted to switch, we were live on screen with that camera, and I was about to switch to my laptop playing something. So we can preview that there and see what is that. So that's how the program preview selection works. So normally you select down here, you switch, then you select the next thing, switch, select the next thing, switch. That's how, so your fingers only ever, they should never, like, it's pretty ugly to switch videos like that. Like typically you're doing a, sorry, there's nothing on that. Normally you're using these buttons to select what you're going to next.
What is this? What is it when you're doing that?
Okay, so this over here is the joystick, which switches between program and preview.
Yeah.
So the current source to what's next. So currently we're on camera 1. What's next is the PTZ camera. So I can use this T-bar to fade between those two. Or I can use these functions down here. I can use this button, which is cut, which is just a raw, just switch between them. I can use this button here, which is auto, which is a mix time. So that just fades between them automatically at a preset time. So the reason that you'd use that is because every time you hit that, it always does it at the same rate. So it doesn't rely on you always getting this the same. So that's like the way that they run a television studio typically. They set whatever the fade time is. So you can make it really long,
So you click
or you can make it really short.
So how do you get, is that, did you have to do something to have a
Yeah,
on there?
so this is the settings screen, or the context menu for any button that you press. So what I did was I pressed the mix button here, and it brought up the mix menu. You can also get to it by pressing on the mix button up there. But the easiest way to get around the console is to click on the button that you want to access, and it brings up the menu for those things on the screen. So for mix, I'm going to click on mix, and then it allows me to change that fade rate. There's a bunch of other things here, like dip, which, flashes to a white or whatever you preset in between.
So how do you change the dip to, oh, there's a colour there, I see.
Yeah. Wipe, which,
We should never use.
yeah, it's disgusting.
No, you
Oh,
can't.
sorry, I'm switching to that, not that.
Yeah, how did you do that?
So you can change the pattern that it uses. It's, pretty disgusting, as you can see.
Yeah.
Cecilia, don't do it.
Don't do it.
Just don't.
What else has it got?
Did you press something to make it
Does that
change
have
between the
arrows?
cameras and then the logo?
Yeah, I was playing with buttons before. I shouldn't have. I was getting ahead of myself.
This is so much better an interface than the TriCast.
Yeah, it's a professional interface. Like it's a
So
physical interface that you can interact with. So yeah, these are all, so this group of buttons here is related to the fade over here.
So if that fade's not working, we probably need to put that back onto background, is that right?
Correct, yeah, okay.
That's happened on the TriCast and we just go, no.
So, okay, so what happened before, let me go and show what happened, was I'd selected key number 4, which is a media player. And what I'd done is, when I've selected that now means that this fader is actually causing that to come in and out. So I've set up key number 4 as being the CQU logo in the bottom right corner.
Did you do that in here?
Yeah, I did it all on here. I put it in there as a logo, and then I chose it here and set it up.
So the media players has 20 slots.
Well, there's actually only 2 slots. So there's 20 slots where you can upload media,
Yeah.
but you only ever have 2 media players where you can have like live stuff that you can take and use. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and can we, to get pre-recorded video in, do we use the media player?
So
Or do
I
we have to
don't
use the hyperdeck?
use the hyperdeck. So I'd use 2 things. So either the hyperdeck, I'd pre-record it on an SD card and use the hyperdeck to get pre-recorded video, or if you were doing like a newsroom with weather and stuff like that and widgets and things like that, I'd use a computer like running ProPresenter or something like that where you can put multiple things in there and make that so it's one source as the background that does all of those things, because otherwise you're limited to only 2 slots that you can run.
That's cool.
So we've got over here sorted, which is how we select sources. Let me go back to that. So we need to click background. So that's the main source. That's on a camera which has nothing. That's why. So switching between cameras can be done with the T-bar, or with the auto feature, or with the cut. Not sure what Sting does. I think it brings something up and then brings it down.
Some dodgy music.
So they're all the effects that you can use to transition between different camera shots. The next thing you need to know is is up here, which is the key section. So obviously what you guys want to do most of the time is key in a background or put a logo over the top. So I've created key number 4, which is the CQU logo. So you can enable a key just by pressing on. So there's 4 pre-built things that we can do here. Essentially, they're kind of like palettes that we've got, or widgets that we can put over the top of something. So key number 4, so we can do 2 things. We can just turn it on like that, or we can select the key and we can use the fade features to bring it in. Well, we just need to remember that if you want to switch cameras, then after, like if you wanted to switch to something else, you need to go back to background to do that.
So why is this is key?
Because it's on, it's live, yeah.
Okay.
So you can see it's live.
So this is where it's saved. And this
Yeah,
is
correct.
turning it on.
So this is the menu where you can see up here it switches to that context menu, where you can set up like what key number 4 is. So I'm choosing Media Player 1 as the source, and there's a whole bunch of other settings here. Actually, let me show you what I did with this as well.
So do you separate the foreground and background elements in the menus?
Yes, so it does it automatically. So when it's a Luma type of key, it automatically selects the foreground and background items. I think that was a PNG image as well, so it was really easy. I just put it in there and it came straight up. So over here, so once we've selected what we want that to be, we can go across these different menu items. Let me just go and turn this off and show you what I did. So I did 2 things to this. I did 2 things to manipulate this logo. So I engaged a mask. So a mask is exactly what it says, masking off part of the image. So we've got controls here, so mask on, mask off. So if we turn it on, we can crop a portion of the image off to mask it. So left, right.
So can you do it from the start? So bringing the image in.
Sure.
Please?
Yep. So.
Can you delete it that key, or is it just sit there until you change it?
No, yeah, it just sits there till I change it actually. Okay, we can do key number 3. Let's do that. Key number 3 has got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so key number 3, we're going to go on, like turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, you can see it's black. It's got nothing. There's nothing assigned to it. What we want to do is change the source. So the fill source, we want to be not a camera. We want it to be, you can make it the hyperdeck or something like that if you want. We want it to make it media player number 1. And then it automatically selects the key source as media player 1 key, is what that stands for. So it'll automatically do that if you set a media player, because it's meant to be used this way. It's meant to be a logo or a background.
So that's that media player.
Correct.
on there.
Yep.
And
So
that
we've
got in
selected
there
the
through
source. So the type is a Luma key, which is the default.
What's that mean?
There's different types of keying. So there's Luma and Chroma keying.
Chroma is green screen.
You're correct. So Luma keying is taking the difference between, as you mentioned before, the foreground and the background of an object, and being able to put it over the top of something. Chroma keying is when you choose a chroma value, which is a RGB value, like of the green screen, and saying, I want to overlay something over the top of where this color was before. So what we're doing with a logo is using Luma keying. And we're selecting the source, which is going to be Media Player 1. So using the knob to rotate that. Media Player 1. And then it'll automatically select the key source as Media Player 1 key, because it automatically does that.
So key source means?
The key source is the background. So the difference in the two images, so it can actually overlay it.
Okay.
I'm not sure technically more than that what it means.
Yeah, but it means that it'll cut out that same
Correct.
space.
That's right.
Yeah.
So once you've done that, we can use the arrow keys to go across and get more options. So the first option we come across is the mask. So we can turn the mask on, and we can mask off a portion of the image for whatever reason. You know, for today's reason, we're going to just use the crest only. So we're going to mask off everything that we don't need. So I'm just going to bring the mask out.
So this could be a camera feed too, couldn't it?
It could be, yeah.
Yeah.
It's much better to be a source, but yeah, it could be a camera feed. Because this
like
will be.
if you wanted a picture-in-picture news sort of thing.
Yes. So what we're going to use the mask for is to crop off that part of it that we don't actually need. And about there. Cool. So if we go over another page, pre-multiplied key, we don't need that. That's not useful. I think you can just adjust the values of it there a little bit more.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to make it look a bit nicer.
Can you reset it?
By default, it's on. Well, let's just leave it to 0 there. Okay, so Luma flying key. Sounds impressive. But what that means is that instead of being full screen, if we turn this to on, it means that we can place it where we want it on the screen now. Yeah. So we can just use the knobs to move it around and choose where we want to place that logo.
Feedback loop and you got a scanning, mate.
So what did you press to get on the flying wheel?
So I just turned flying on.
Oh, okay.
So remember we're in the setup menu for key number 3. So across, 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 across.
Okay.
And that's all the different options. You can see the dots there. There's one more page of stuff that we can change. So if we turn flying key on, that allows us to place that where we want on the screen. Okay. So I've set up key number 1 and key number 2 for you already. If someone's able to sit on the chair out there for us, that'd be awesome.
Do you want a microphone?
Maybe. Yeah, that'd be good. We can demonstrate that as well. Let's just go and zoom these cameras in a bit. Camera 2. Camera 2 needs to be swung around a little bit. It's got some black, but we'll ignore that for now. Just so it's not showing any.
Number 2, the other one.
So it's not showing any black. That's the way. That's a bit better.
Okay, good look at me, look. Can we dull that down?
So we can switch. Obviously, we can switch between the cameras.
That colour is much better.
It is very similar, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, we should have seen it before it was changing. The
Yep.
green was.
Yeah, it was awful before. Okay, so that's the 2 camera shots. You know, you can cue them up and see that they look similar in color temperature as we've just done. So the thing to remember about keying is it's putting something over the top of something else. So that means the background needs to be not the camera, it needs to be the virtual background. So what we're going to do is, so I've got media player number 2 as my background. So I'm going to select media player number 2 and go live with that. And then I can do things like turn on the logo. Number 3 was the logo, sorry. So that's an overlay over the top, because remember keying is putting something over the top of something else. So I can turn the logo on and off. And I can also bring the camera over the top of the background. So I can choose camera number 1. So the way I've got it set up here is camera number 1 and camera number 2 is key number 2.
How come it looked kind of green? Does that?
Yeah, there's just the settings have changed because we did the white balance. Let's go and change the settings down.
Can we do any adjustment on here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So now that we've got, no, let's not worry about that. It's just the preset that I did before has changed slightly because we've white balanced the camera now. So
I see.
I've got key number 1 selected. This is the one that we're working on. Key number 3 is just the logo. We're just going to leave that on screen over there. So over here we can go across in the menu and see the values of things like background and foreground, and we can twiddle with the knobs
Yep.
until we get it.
Right.
We get rid of some of that purple. Get rid of some of that noise there.
So there's not an auto check the green thing?
No. I think it does when you initially.
I think it must do it naturally.
It does it initially.
Because you wouldn't have had, when you did it initially, did it?
I can't remember.
So if we were to go to key number 1 and go to chroma, it recognises that green will be the chroma key, the colour?
Yes, so it's a chroma key. So chroma preview chroma sample key edge. So by default, it takes the top left-hand corner. Let me show you on here. I'm trying to remember how to get back to that. You can move it around basically, and like you know, if you've got a spot on your green screen that's greener than the rest or that looks more uniform with the lighting, you can normally move it around to check
That's
that.
what we used to do with the TriCaster, was eyedropper it.
Yeah.
This is pretty good at just detecting where it should be.
Yeah, see how we don't have the spill?
Yeah, that's much cleaner,
Much cleaner.
visibly much cleaner.
And it actually handled my hair, which normally it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a lot better.
Much better. Because I've got wussy, fine, floaty hair, and it tends to lose chunks out of it.
Yeah.
And it didn't when I was sitting there. Obviously he still needs a bit of light on him, doesn't he?
Here we go. So it won't let you do it when it's live,
Okay.
is my problem. But over here, preview, let me remember how to do this. Here we go. So you can use this over here.
Oh, I see.
There you go. So on the preview screen there, see that's the,
Yeah, see that icon.
so by default it's top left, which is normally pretty safe basically. It's never in shot. But if your green screen looks nicer, you can do that. It gives you a little sample there that's what green is.
So will that matter then if
But you can
someone
move that
sits in-
around into the middle, like, you know.
Yeah. So that,
So by default, it's top left. And it's like what I've found is that it's really reliable. Like as long as you've got the whole green screen in shot on your camera, which you should, and it's lit like fairly uniform, then that's going to be ideal.
So just so we want to lighten him up a little, can we do any of that live on here, in here, or do you have to go back and sort the lighting?
Best to go back and sort the lighting. Great question about the cameras. So there is camera adjustments over here. Again, I'm not real big on camera
Okay, so you
adjustments,
can, yeah.
but there is. Let's go and put that live. That's camera 1.
Mistake.
On air. Maybe you can't do it when it's on air. Surely you can.
But best to have better raw content than.
Is that adjusting anything? Doesn't look like it, does it?
Nothing I can see.
Nothing
Left. Chroma correction.
Oh, see, there's a colour button
settings,
there.
white. Yeah, that's I'm just about to.
He does it like I do. Press every button till something works.
It should be adjusting this over here, but it certainly doesn't appear to be. This might only be when you've got, so you can remote control the cameras. Like if you've got Blackmagic cameras, you can go and do the fine tune remote control of them. I have a feeling like similar to, you know, that is the control, like the CCU control for the cameras. I have a feeling this is only for their cameras,
Yes.
but I'm just not 100% sure on that. Yeah, I'm not sure on that, sorry.
That's it.
I'm not sure if you can manipulate the color on here.
We'll Google it.
Yep.
So always we need to get the lighting right anyway.
Yeah.
It's good to be able to tweak.
It's a lot better than.
It does a much
Hey.
better job.
It looks pretty good there without any direct lighting.
Okay, sorry, back on, let's turn that off. Back on background and then bringing a camera up on top of it. You know, just to remember that understanding of the key is something on top of something else. So the camera is the thing that's going on top of the background.
So what's the setup?
So let's turn everything off here. So we've chosen our background image, which is our weather
You're just
forecast.
choosing it, yeah.
Yeah, you can, you know, switch between. Well, let's say that we're switching between.
Oh, yeah,
These two?
background being whatever
Yeah.
we want on that program.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So you know, let's say that we had this is what's happening in the studio today. We switch to our background, then we can bring a camera in. So camera 1, which over here you can see it's previewed what I'm about to do.
So
Up
you've
there.
just loaded that into key 1.
Yeah. So I've selected key 1, which is the next thing that I'm going to do. So that's appeared on the preview screen up here.
Mm-hmm.
So if on the preview screen, if I'm choosing the next background I'm going to go to, you can see that appears up there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm choosing the next key that I'm going to go to, that appears to show that's what it's going to look like when I switch.
But you've said key 1 is.
Key 1 is camera 1 overlay.
You've set that up.
Correct. Yeah. So when I did in the setup, I just did key number 1, camera 1, key number 2, camera 2, and just went through those steps before of turning the knobs until it looks nice as an overlay.
Yeah. So we shouldn't bother. No one changed that key 1, camera 1.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be used for most of the time. I
Yeah,
just leave
yeah.
it like that.
Yeah. Don't mess with key 1 and 2.
So you can hit the auto button and it brings up that overlay over a virtual background. We can click key number 4, which is our logo. Sorry, key number 3. It was number 4. Key number 3 is our logo. You can see that's what it's going to look like. Click the auto button and that'll bring that up over the top of it now.
And then say he's ready to go, then you just press that boom.
Yeah.
And it goes.
That's right. On air, start streaming or start recording.
Also on air, not record.
So on air is to start streaming, which you're probably not going to use it for. Record is the ISO record, so that's when it records all 8 cameras individually. If you're just doing a static setup like that with someone on the screen, then
That's when you can.
correct, you're going to want to use that over there.
So you press record on there, the
Yeah.
red button.
That's right. And you can also, from media players over here in Hyperdeck, sorry, you can't record from there. Ignore that I said that. You have to hit record. So hit record over there. There you go. That's now a live feed of what's being recorded.
Just stop.
And I can switch backgrounds, let's say I want to go to him sitting in a fireplace. I can switch to that now. And then I'm going to go over here on my computer and I'm going to bring up my, sorry, that should have been the other way around. There was the weather. Then I'm going to go and change to different presentation. I'm ready to switch to that. Switch to it.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that
And-
was HDMI and that's from there.
This button over here, FTB, that's fade to black. So that's just a kill switch.
Oh,
And
that's
that'll
amazing.
flash.
The TriCast had that button.
Yeah.
But we didn't really ever use the.
I had to.
Yeah.
So
And then hit
what's so
stop.
different on this one to this one?
I think it's the viewing angle of the screens. If you get in front of them, it is slightly different.
Okay, it's just me.
Yeah, it is slightly different.
This
You're
one
right.
looks clearer.
Yeah, it's
Is it just the.
partially the viewing angle of the screen.
Darker, this one.
Yeah, maybe the TV is just set up slightly differently. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so the other piece of hardware to know about in here is this device here, which is what's called the web presenter. So this can function in a couple of ways. So this can be, you can stream with that. So you can actually stream to YouTube from here and to Twitch from there or whatever. You can do multiple things at once. The way that you're going to use it for mostly is this cable on the front here. So it's essentially just a virtual webcam. So whatever you've got selected, whatever you're doing on your computer, if you go to Zoom, oops, not that. In the Zoom settings in video, you can see that it appears just like plugging a webcam into your computer. It just appears as a virtual device, Web Presenter 4K. So if you select that for both audio and video, Web Presenter 4K, there we go. Then whatever is being transmitted, there you go. You can see it's coming through now. So whatever's going to the live program output will just come out this USB wire into your computer, and you can plug that into Zoom, into WebEx, into Teams, into whatever you want.
Hey, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So is that a way we can live broadcast from multiple studios then? Into the one Zoom or something?
You could, I guess, yeah.
So say we have the same setup in Brisbane. could we set it up in Brisbane, say we had the VCs in Brisbane and someone's up here?
Yeah, if you had one Zoom call, like you could,
Well, no, just to record even.
it'd be pretty low bandwidth to record.
yeah.
Like you'd really want to.
But if it's a Zoom and you want to do a live, like they do
Well,
on TV.
So yeah, so if you had, if you were doing a Zoom broadcast, which is like you can send the invite out to multiple people, but only 2 people are the host. You could have a host in Brisbane and a host in Rockhampton.
The nice setup.
Yeah, with a nice setup. That's right. So you could have like a news bench or whatever here, and you could be streaming into the Zoom call like as one participant. So this would be the Rockhampton studio, and the other end would be the Brisbane studio, and they could be both in the Zoom call, and Zoom would automatically switch between them depending on who's live and talking at the time. So yeah, like in a Zoom call like that, you could both join the call and both stream into it from different places in the world.
Okay.
So that's just, so all this USB wire is doing is just taking like whatever's on that screen there. So that's the little preview of it, including the audio. I'll turn my audio on here so you can see it metering. So whatever the main output of the video switcher is, it's just converting it to a USB virtual webcam that you can plug into your laptop and use in whatever video conference or streaming platform you want.
We probably don't need it so much. But OTV would, that's...
Good to know it has that functionality. If you ever did need it.
By the time we do know.
Lucky we've got this video recording.
So the other thing, this section up here is the audio section. So you can see that you can see some meters over here. That's my microphone. It's getting feedback because I'm in front of the speakers here. This button up here enables the audio. So if it's white, it means it's enabled. So what enabled means is that, see at the moment I'm not coming through the speakers, but if I switch my camera, that camera to being live, it's now coming through the speakers because that camera's live, so the audio follows the live camera. So you can do it that way. The other way you can do it is, like, for example, if you had four people all with lapel mics on, because they're going into 2 different cameras, so you don't want it obviously switching. You don't want only 2 people to be able to talk at a time. Excuse me. You want all 4 microphones on at a time. So the way that you can do that is you can actually click it 2 times. When you click it 2 times, that latches it to be always on. So it means that it doesn't matter what cameras you switch to, those microphones are always on. So that way you can have all 4 lapel microphones working at once, even though they're coming down different cameras. Like even if that camera, let's say that camera's not even live to screen, you can still have the audio going live all the time. Obviously, you need to make sure you mute it when you're done.
So if you don't have it enabled, white or red, no audio will be recorded.
Correct, no audio will work. So you can see as well, let's go over to input number 7. So I have to go to the next screen over here. So input number 7 is my laptop, which is still playing this nice little fireplace. So you can see it metering there, but it's grayed out. It's not actually live. So if I click it once, when I switch to that input, HDMI in. When I switch to that input, the audio is live. You've got volume up there.
So this is just automatically picking up, like turning on kind of thing.
No, you press the button.
No, so when I switch to that input, so at the moment I'm on that. If I switch away from that, like back to the live camera, it fades out with the video. So you see how the audio follows the video?
So with its white, it only turns on if it's on, and if it's red, it'll stay on the whole time.
So yeah, red is live the whole time. White is only enabled when I switch to it. So the audio follows the video. So we can turn that on and make it available all the time. But that's not very useful to that sort of thing because we want that to follow when we switch to it.
And if you don't want the sound coming out of the switch or wherever it's turning out from, like you want to hear the sound but you don't want it to be as distracting, can you plug in a headphone or something?
Yeah, just over here. Yep.
Okay.
So just use the speakers up here. So that's what it was, those headphones that we took out there to the camera. So they can be used in here or out there. Yep, so all the audio just comes through these speakers.
And you turn it down.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. And how do you use this in here?
Yep. So, I'm pretty sure this is still set to talk to all stations at once. So the way that this can work, the way it's intended to work, is you can individually talk to, so it's actually...
Where does go?
Yeah, Red's live. So it's 8 individual packs. So you can talk to just camera 1 or just camera 2. But the most useful thing, like the way that you're going to use it most of the time, is just talk to all.
Yeah. And that's always on then?
Yeah, correct. So if someone goes and jumps on one of the packs out there,
We'll give you an instruction, a secret instruction.
yeah, that's the right one. No, you had the right one first, yeah, with the microphone.
One ear is
So that should be camera 1. Can you hear me when I'm talking now? Can you hear me talking now? Can you hear me talking now? Hey, there we go. So if you... Yeah, push to talk, that's right. Does it come out the speaker here? Push to talk again.
Hello, this is me speaking.
It's not.
Trying to remember if you can get it to come out the speaker, or it may only be...
Try again.
Try... There we go. So if you have the headphones disconnected, it'll come out the speaker. As soon as you connect the headphones in, it only comes out the headphones. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just leave it set up that way.
For you and Priscilla, get the VC put his hands down. Am I right?
Yeah. That's exactly the idea.
Without him hearing you say that.
Yes.
Okay, so with the audio, as I mentioned, I split the cameras up so that each track is recorded separately. So instead of it being stereo, so mic 1 in the left and mic 2 in the right, they're separate individual audio tracks. So you can manipulate them separately later in like post-production. So it's not stereo audio it's recording, it's 2 tracks of mono audio. And what that means is that you can turn on and off lapel microphones individually here. So you can turn on just number 1 or just number 2. And you've got individual level control over each of those microphones.
So
There's-
when you change the levels, it changes the output recording?
Correct, yeah, that's the master output, yep. So you can see over here, I'll just turn this down, but that's the metering there. So I'm going to bring it up. This is my microphone. I'm going to bring the level right up. You can see it's clipping now. Hey. I'll bring it down back to, what was it, -18, which is where I had it. Testing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, hey, 1, 2. I think I've got number 1 actually.
Yeah, you're number 1.
It's not going to work very well in here, it'll feedback.
But Jamie's there as number 2 on.
Yeah, put number 2 on.
There we go.
Yeah.
I see it's picking up there.
Just move away from the door.
So there's all sorts of audio features. So you've got EQ, compressor, all sorts of advanced features there, which are pretty cool if you want to do that. But it's just all at default at the moment.
So why would you use those?
So a compressor, EQ is obviously to change the tone of the audio. So if there's a really boomy sound like in their voice like that, you can EQ it out. I'm not really using it for feedback here. Compressor is, so a compressor compresses the audio, so just basically flattens it out so there's not so many peaks, so smooths it out a little bit. That's probably the most likely thing that you'd use, I guess, is a compressor, but you just have to listen to it and see what it sounds like. You can change that in post-production anyway. It's really only needed if you're doing a live stream so that you could adjust stuff, yeah. But there is heaps of audio settings that you can adjust.
So is that the stuff that's in Fairlight as well? Highlight DaVinci Resolve?
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that will carry across. So any audio adjustments you make here will carry across into DaVinci. So it's essentially like the raw audio, but with the adjustments already applied to it.
So I'm guessing it's like on the 4-bit audio then? Like,
I'm
if
not-
it does get clipped, there's ways to recover it?
If it's distorting at the input stage to the console, then it's going to be distorted when you record it. So that's why it's really important to just monitor it on your cameras and make sure it's not clipping.
Yeah.
But from what I can see, if we set it to auto level control on the cameras, it seems to be pretty good at making sure it doesn't peak out.
Yeah. Because I was going to ask if there's some form of padding as well. If they can drop it by 20 dB or with a certain button or...
Yeah, just at the microphones themselves, so at the cameras, we went through that earlier, so we can manually control the gain of the cameras. But what we found is that the auto gain works quite well. The next thing I wanted to explain was what's called macros. So, macros, so a macro is like a script, basically. So it's just a list of instructions to follow through in a linear fashion. So do this, do this, do this, then do this. So what a macro does is I've recorded a few here which will hopefully be useful. So what I've recorded over here is microphone enable. So macro 1 turns on all 4 microphones and enables them so that when we switch to it, those microphones are enabled like we talked about before. Macro number 2 turns all 4 of those microphones on. So just those buttons that I pressed before to turn them on, that means they're all on now. Macro number 3 turns them off. And macro number 4 was just the example of the news cross that I set up before, which is stuffed up now because you made me change my key from 4 to 3.
But this could be, so we could set up a macro with background camera.
So that should actually have the camera. If I walk out the camera there, it should have that overlaid. Did I appear on the screen? Yeah. So because there's obviously a lot of steps in setting up any of those things, and also just to get that on the screen, there's a lot of buttons involved in doing that. The whole point of a macro is that just with one button, you can be on whatever you're on. Just with one button push, you can set up exactly that overlay that you wanted.
So can you show us how to set up?
Sure. Okay, so let's turn everything off. So we can click on macro over here. Select the macro that you want. So you can, if there's already a macro there, when you press the button, it recalls it. If there's...
Did you name those?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So you need the software in there is the only way to name them. So if we click on here, if we want to create a new macro, so the only way to name it, so you record it, and then if you want to name it, you've got to go into the software there and just edit the name.
Okay, yeah. So we just want to do one with the background and the green screen and...
Let's do for now, let's just do, let's just go to nothing, turn all this off. So we've selected macro number 5, so you can use this to select which one you're doing. So we're going to select macro number 5, which is the next one. So we're going to hit record. And what this is going to do, so what the record function does is it records every button press you make. So you press a button, it stores that in the sequence. Press the next button, stores that in the sequence. So you go through all the steps that you want to do that thing that you want to do, and then hit stop, and then that becomes something that you can play back. So you can delete the macro. Yes. All right, number 5 is now empty, so we're going to hit record. So we want to go let's go the PTZ camera, like live, live in the studio, and also bring the CQU logo on. Hit stop. That's now saved as macro number 5. So if we turn all that off, go back to black and click on macro number 5, it brings that up automatically.
That macro button selected for that.
Yeah, correct. So that row of buttons only appears if you hit macro. So if you enable macro mode, that brings up that row where you can save all of your macros.
So can you have a macro sitting in a preview, ready to switch over?
No, because it's such a long, it could be a huge list of instructions to do.
Can you fade between macros?
No, because it's a list of instructions to go through.
And then how, if we've got different media that we want to create with that, how do the buttons know? My question, sorry. So, say the logo, we don't want the logo, we want like a virtual background. How are we bringing that across to input into a new macro?
So, okay, let's think about what we're doing with a macro here is where let's set it all up first, what we want to do. So basically what I did, I went through in my head, this is what I want to do. And then I did that sequence of buttons to do that thing that I wanted to do.
But I mean,
So
how do you get
So
these
it's-
buttons?
I've already tested it and made sure I know so that it's going to work.
Yeah,
But I
so
mean, how do
you're
you,
saying if we don't have this one where it's all cropped and everything,
like if we want the button to correlate to a different, we don't want this 7-day forecast, do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, okay. So that's just choosing media player. So that's choosing which media player is the background.
Oh yeah.
So that could
Then
be,
that's when you,
so we could do that with a key of, is it camera? We could do that and we could edit this key.
so I think the long answer is
We
that
could
when
do
you
this
change
as a
things out-
a logo, a holding screen or whatever. So let's just go back to nothing, turn everything off. So macro number 6, macro number 6, record. So I want to play the PTZ camera and I want to put the big CQ logo live on screen. Stop. So that's now recorded that as a series of events. So if I play that back, that's what it goes to.
So I think, Scylla, your question is more around that if we change the media that's sitting on that.
It will change the result of the macro.
Yeah.
That's right. Yep.
So if
and
you,
that's always these.
so if you said the background is always media player
2.
1 or
2.
yeah.
The background is 2 and the logo is 1. Yeah.
Whatever I put on media player 2 is going to be the background, then that'll work. But if you do something silly like crop and move, and that's not going to work.
But again, you need to test those things. The whole idea of it is to test it before you go live and start doing something. You want to make sure that the stuff that you're doing is actually useful.
I would suggest this would be my hack, and tell me if I'm right or wrong. Is that instead of cropping down the logo and moving it over here, that you create a PNG that's big enough that happens to have the logo in the corner where you want it, so that it's just a single overlay without adjustments,
Yeah.
and then off.
Yep.
That'd be easier than
Doing all.
then you could definitely crop it and move it and do picture in picture or whatever. But if you just want to have, I'm thinking you want to have Nick Vice Chancellor and President or something as a thing, it might
For
be easier to do
example,
as a whole graphic rather than trying to move it into.
And then bring it in from, no, you could still import it from the media,
Yeah, so I'm thinking if you had a whole graphic but most of it's transparent, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just need to know the size to bring it in at. Does that make sense? Am I right? James?
Yes, I think you are.
Talking shit?
I think I understand what you're saying. So I've just created another macro as well at number 10 here, which I'll relabel, which is just clear. So that clears all of the keys off the screen and just goes back to just standard live camera switching.
Yeah.
So I'll go and I'll show you how to rename them over here. So up here, click on macros. And over here, number 10, we're just going to call clear. So as soon as we hit save, that changes. If I could type, that'd be helpful. Cool. So if you put a bunch of stuff on the screen and then just hit the clear button, that just clears those things. And remember, it only does the things I press buttons for when I record it. So it doesn't, it's not like a snapshot recall where it takes everything back to that state and it would switch the video as well. It only does the things that I record under that feature, which in this instance just happens to be just clearing the keys.
Yeah.
Which is just get everything off the screen and just go back to normal video switching.
Yeah.
Because we used to have the buffers. That's what we don't have a buffer channel now. So if you can only have 2 images up on there, is there a way to switch those to use in between? Like, see how you got the CQ logo there?
Yep.
And the background. But you said there's like 20.
Yep.
Let's say we want to change backgrounds in between or...
Great question. I have a feeling, let me see if I can get another image on here. I think we can do that with a macro, and I haven't tested that yet.
Because one of the things we were able to do on the TriCaster was actually have loop the content that was in a bin. So it might have been multiple videos playing on loop.
Okay.
So there is a section here to upload. I was trying to read about this last time I was here, and I couldn't quite get to the bottom of it. So there is a section that you can upload clips.
Into the media player.
Correct, into the media player. But I wasn't actually able, let's see if we can work it out. I wasn't able to work out what format was actually required.
Because what we have done, and this is not for professional use probably, but we might have a video background, like when we're mucking around saying going live on the street to Jurassic Park or something like that, and switch it to someone with a dinosaur thing happening behind them.
I guess we could sort of do that on the laptop, it's the HDMI.
That's right, yeah.
But that's not our laptop, so we'd have to buy a laptop.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or bring a laptop,
bring a
or
laptop in.
Most people have their own laptop, that's the idea of it.
SD card, could we?
Yep.
So we could load some video content onto the SD card if we wanted to. I'm just thinking, it's like, say you wanted to have like moving trees video behind someone.
Yeah, you're supposed to be able to, but there's only 2 slots that you can upload, like a video loop like that. I tried last time I was here and I couldn't work out how to do it. And I'm not 100% sure how to.
But if we did have it on the... I can't remember the name of it. The Hyperdeck.
Yep.
On the SD card.
You can play it off that, that's right.
And we can have any number of clips on the SD card.
Yeah,
we can
yeah.
access. Yeah, that'd be a way to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. That's probably the best way to do it.
Or, so question number 427.
Yeah.
If you've got your own external hard drive that you're plugging in to record from, can you load from that onto the Hyperdeck, or? So I'm thinking,
No. No, only SD cards in the Hyperdeck.
So we would have to, if we wanted to prepare before coming over for something, have an SD card that we can put in with content in. When I say we, I'm talking about you, Sel.
Yeah.
No, or me, but
It just opens possibilities of so many other ideas we can do. It's really good.
because it can allow you, so say you, someone that's good at Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, they can create like your buffers and all those
Yeah.
graphics and that for you. And it could just be an editable one that you create and export. I think there's a whole nother thing that you were talking about, which was the presenter thing. That's probably a bit beyond us at the moment.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be nice, but let's get this working. But there's another whole nother program that does even more.
I remember, yeah.
So what I am trying to remember here is I'm pretty sure we can use a macro to determine which, so at the moment obviously media player 1 is that logo, media player 2 is that background. I'm pretty sure we can set a macro to change what is using that background. So that's the way that you can take advantage of more media items. Let me try and work out how to do that. So media player 1. Okay, cool. So let's go macro 5, record that, stop. So let's try that now. Yes, there we go. So we can record the you can bind the what is assigned to those media player slots as part of a macro. So that's when it becomes powerful, where you can do a whole transition or a whole setup based not only on what's on that, but on a whole bucket of other stuff that's available there.
So can I clarify? I can't see
Yep.
that far.
So
But what you were doing was basically saying in the macro, go find this particular file and use it.
So what I'm doing is, so when I went to record a macro, so let's go and delete macro number 5. Yes. So currently media player 2. So this is, we can get to this from over here as well. Actually, let me show you on this screen so it's easier. Media players, media player number 2. We can choose, you can see it's live, that's why it's red at the moment. You can choose what you want to be media player number 2. Because we can choose that, like on the surface here, we can also program that as part of a macro. So what we can do is on macros, we can go record, record, media players, change that to that, macro, stop. So the only command that saved them was change media player 2 from being that background to the other one. So now it's already that, but if we go media players, let's go make it nothing. If we click on macro 5, it now changes it to that background. So we could do 2 different macros here. Let's go 5 and 6. Macro 6, record, media player 2, macro, record. So now we can switch between them.
Yeah.
So media player 2, we're switching between slot 1 and slot 2 in that.
So you could set up a macro that says go choose this, then overlay this camera, then overlay this graphic.
And you can add pauses in there as well. So like when I went to record it, you can record, do something, add a pause. You can determine how long it is, 4 seconds.
Yep.
Confirm. And then switch to that, stop. So now when we play back that macro, it does that, waits 4 seconds, and then switches to that.
So that would be good for the buffers, because you could have them set up, turn this on, stay for 4 seconds, turn it off,
Yeah.
without having a faff.
Yeah. So and again, you saw like when I went to record that, you know, I do something, add a pause, so you can do a user wait time, which is just waits until the next thing that you press.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, actually, I think that actually allows you to toggle it between the things. So user wait time, we'll do, let's just test that. Confirm. I'm not sure what that does.
But that would be good if we set up a macro that had the buffer come in,
Yeah.
turned off after 4
We
seconds, so
wouldn't
then you
have to
don't
do
have
any
to,
like post-production, pretty much.
Mhm.
We could just do it here.
you can figure it out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
So can you, because you've done all the macros and that, and the next person that comes in, they'll probably have their own macros. Is there a way to save the entire device's state and files?
Great
to one
question.
file?
Yeah.
I don't think so, but let me profiles, user profile.
Well, then, yeah, what's sitting in the media bank?
No, it's just always on there all the time. So there's no like global
to delete them
snapshots of. It's meant to be, you know, something that sits in a TV studio that, you know, when you come in every day, it's still in the same state that it was in last time, I guess.
but so what we used to do with the TriCasters, I'd have a profile for when we did student experiences, which had it set up a certain way, and then Priscilla would have a profile for when she did BC, because that would be
Yeah, I'm
more
wondering.
useful.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here's the profiles. So let's just go out of this and just delete these useless macros that I did. Macro 7. Let's switch between two things. Let's delete that one. Switch between two media things. Yeah, okay. So settings. So where was I? Home, profiles. We can save a profile in user number 1. So save. We should be able to, how many profiles have we got? 10. There's 10 profiles there.
So that record could keep different macro settings in those?
Yeah, that'll keep everything. That's right. Yep. So let's go. Let's go delete all of these macros.
Are you in profile 1 now?
Yeah, I am, but it doesn't matter because I'm going to go and recall profile 1. So profiles, user profiles. If I load it. One. Oh, you're right. Because I was on profile 1, it saved those things. I'll go and recreate those.
So what would that say under there? Restore.
Restore, yeah. Because I hadn't switched, because I'd only created one profile, I hadn't created 2 profiles yet. So let's see if we can rename these.
That'd be good, because then you can set up yours.
And then with different media items, if they get deleted out of the library, we just make sure it's saved on the laptop so we can.
Yeah, just drag them back in there.
Yeah.
When you load media files into the ATEM hard drive,
Mhm.
does it is it like a file hierarchy, or does it have its own way of managing its media content? So we can go and say,
So
digital services file, this is where I
no,
want to
so it only has these 20 slots to upload stuff.
Right.
So basically, you can store them on the computer wherever you want. But the ATEM itself only has 20 slots that you can actually save media in.
Is this?
Yeah.
This is.
Yeah. This is on the internet. Yeah.
No, not on the internet. Is it networked in the uni? Like, there's no uni.
So this is just got a
Okay,
login
we
just for
can't.
here.
I was thinking about whether we could get into OneDrive or not.
No, just use if you can.
Use a USB.
You can use you could go into a web UI, but it's kind of all locked down on here. Just use a USB stick.
Yeah.
Just
that's
use
right.
bring your own laptop in. Use a USB stick to get the stuff off it onto that. It doesn't look like you can rename the profiles, which is strange. This is a pretty new device, and maybe that's not been released yet. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't look like we can rename the profiles. We'll set up profile 1 as I'll resave it there as the base setup so that you can at least go and recall that. Let me put these back on again.